The Joe Rogan Experience.
Well, when you make films like Elysium, these dystopian films about potential futures, it's got to sort of spark these thoughts in your mind, how many of these possibilities could we encounter in our lifetime?
Well, Elysium and District 9 are both kind of cut from the same cloth in the sense that I do think a lot of that had to do with growing up in South Africa and just being affected by... I'm very naturally interested in how society seemed to stratify and how wealth inequality, again, this is biological programming, right? I think that people hang on to resources that they have as much as they can. And so you end up with billionaires because it's an understandable thing.
Right.
It makes total sense. You're just hoarding food in your cave to live through the winter,
Right.
and keep your family safe. So, but Elysium really, if District 9 was the sort of racial part of growing up in South Africa and just being very aware of the environment that I was in, then Elysium is the kind of wealth discrepancy part of it. Where South Africa and Brazil and India would be in first place when it comes to that. And you just see imagery that's extremely striking in that country that leaves an indelible mark on you, I think. Actually, the inspiration for Elysium, the whole thing actually for me was I was shooting commercials in it was 2005, and I had started directing commercials, and I was doing a commercial for Nike. And I was in San Diego, and the line producer that I was working with really wanted to go to Tijuana. And I was sick. I didn't want to go. And he's like, we got to get in the car and we got to go to Tijuana, now. We got to go down there and get a beer or something. And I was like, I really don't want to do this. And he's like, let's just go. It'll be fine. So we went through the border into Mexico as the sun was going down. And we got there and got onto, we were on some street corner, and we bought beers, and then we were walking around in Tijuana with the beers, and these federales saw us doing it, and we got arrested, relatively violently, where we were, it was a shakedown for money, obviously, but it was we got cuffed and thrown in the back of a police car, and then they started driving out of Tijuana in the darkness, and the producer that I was with kept putting $100 bills through the grated thing to the front seats. And then once there was enough money that had gone through, they just kind of opened the doors and let us out. And we had to walk back to where the car was. And
how far was the walk?
I don't remember how long we were walking for. It felt long. It felt like 40 or an hour, maybe 40 minutes, somewhere in there. But the thing that was crazy about it was I could see U.S. Black Hawks flying the border with lights on them and floodlights on the U.S. side. And we were walking through basically favelas with dogs barking, and they had dropped us in places that tourists from the U.S. would never go. So we were walking in basically what felt like a South African shantytown in Mexico with feral animals and just this. But to see this country that was this sort of global hyperpower that everyone from Mexico was moving into, was trying to get into, was incredibly striking. It was just crazy. I mean, it is crazy if you think about that level of poverty up against the U.S. border, and I think Elysium really was the sort of subconscious part of it was South Africa, but the conscious part was that. In that moment, I was I really want to find a way to turn that experience into visuals that represent these two worlds that live on one another's doorstep like this.
So as you were walking by, you could see the planes that were flying over the U.S. side?
Not the planes. It was Border Patrol. They were Black Hawks.
Right. Helicopters.
That were flying the border. And just floodlights. There were floodlights along the fence, along the perimeter. I guess they'd driven us kind of east of where we were. It was weird. It was very impactful though. It had a huge effect on me.
Watch the entire episode for free only on Spotify.